Hey all, Tony Bing here. Hello and welcome to another Friday First Impressions video. So for this video we'll have a look at Path of Exile, a game that released 4 years ago on PC. Since then it's done incredibly well. It's free to play, action RPG. This is really the reason I'm previewing it, because this is my kind of game summed up. Now, it was recently released on Xbox back in August. It's only been out around about 4 months or so on that particular platform, and that's the one that I will be showing off today. So we'll get to see how it plays on Xbox performance wise, and also how it actually works on a controller as well. So we'll run through the first act of the game. All in, it took me about 3 hours or so, but what we've done in this video, we've condensed it down to an hour, so we've got all the exciting parts. There's none of the sections where I get lost in the map and I have to backtrack. That's not going to be fun to watch at all, so we've cut all that out, all the exciting parts, and any other relevant parts to the game as well I'll highlight as we're going through it. So the first thing we'll have a look at is the different character classes you can have. Now actually, just before we do get to the classes, you've got the fact that you can play the game in a standard mode, hardcore mode where your character dies and that's it, they're kicked out of that mode, and you've also got leagues, which are really quite important, where you can get various rewards once the league is over, and the time frame can vary for the league. Your character's then moved over to a standard character with the gear as well there. So I'm starting off, just to keep things simple, on the standard league. Now class wise, we've got the Templar, we then have the Shadow, so he's all about daggers and poison and chaos. Marauder, who's your standard two-handed berserker. You've got the Ranger, awesome, Hawkeye build coming up for that. The Duelist, which is all about swords and staying agile. And then the class we'll be showing off here is the Witch. I figured I'd go for her because she's got some really fun options from the off with the skill tree. The skill tree is something that's very important, and we'll look at that in a bit more detail once we pass the first stage of the game. But let's get to the actual gameplay now. So this first section here, it really introduces you to the equipment and also the gems, which are exceptionally important, and you'll see in a moment what the gems actually do once we take this first enemy out here. So there we go, we can see this is a fireball, and this unleashes a ball of fire. So if we equip this, and the way this game works is you don't have skills for classes, you have gems that you can attach to weapons. So you can see we've attached a gem to the wand, the skill is fireball. If we now look at X on the dial down the bottom right hand side where the skills are listed, we can see we can fire out the fireball, and then you've got your mana, which is ticking down up the top left. As that runs down, something that's quite interesting in Path of Exile, rather than having just med kits or potions, you've got flasks. Now these flasks can actually have different effects. Some of them can give you damage resistance, they can speed you up. Really quite interesting mechanic there, and as you go through the game you get ones that have got more powerful options. But let's work our way through this starting zone here, and we'll pick up some gear, and it will auto equip because we're not currently wearing anything at the moment. So with this first chest, it's dropping another gem, and you'll see this one is classed as a support gem. So the way it works is you'll have your skills, which is your main gems, but because items have sockets and they can be linked together, you can see the wand has got 2 blue sockets that are linked. You can link the gems, so you can add a support gem to a particular skill. There's a whole lot of options. In this run through of Act 1 we won't get to see too many skills. We've got a not bad variety, but it's really when you start to get further into the game that some of the options that become available are incredible, and a whole heap of fun as well. Here we go for our first boss battle, a nice simple one here. Let's try and keep our range. When we're firing off the fireballs we can actually ignite them, as you've seen just there, so that's a dot on them, which is pretty useful. and that's him down, and he's dropped various different rarities of gear. You can see the yellow one's one of the more rare ones. Now if we bring up the skill tree, this is what really makes the game pretty interesting. Absolute ton of skills and options you can see here. Now a lot of them are purely stats, so there'll be primary attributes such as intelligence or strength or agility, and you would go for them depending on the class you're playing. As we're playing a caster, we want to go more for intelligence. And if we look at the first few nodes we have access to here, this one's given us energy shield and mana regen, which is important as a caster, or you can go for the damage side of things, but you'll run out of mana pretty quickly if you do that. But we'll work through some of the further nodes, because the larger nodes and the further out you go, they add some really quite interesting effects to your character. So let's have a quick look at them. Is one of your really interesting nodes that can really change how your character build works. So that one was Conduit we looked at. With it being the Witch, it's all about different elemental damage and spells and minions that are available here. And when you play different characters, you'll have access to initially a different set of skills, but you can work your way around the tree as well. So as you work your way through the levels, you'll see these various different codexes that are available, and they'll tell you about the lore of the game as well. Here's a map here. We've not got much unlocked, so we've only been playing it for a few minutes. This is the first hub. You can see we've got our stash here. Now the actual free-to-play element in the game comes into effect here, where you can buy extra stash tabs and you can recolour them, but you start off with 4, which is a nice start. We've got various quests we're activating here, as well as some side quests that will generally give you extra gems or skill points, and we get to pick an actual gem here for finishing the first mission. So I'm going to go for a minion fire side of things with the Witch, because that will look pretty nice. Now, through the magic of video editing, I've managed to skip the boring parts, which is assigning the skills in the various different sockets in the gear, and I've managed to get hold of another skill as well here. The one you can see assigned to the Y button, which has thrown out the big huge magma orbs, which is pretty good for taking out enemies that are all grouped together. We can see we've got our minions as well here, so we've got up to 3. When we looked at the skill tree earlier, I quickly hovered over a skill where you can increase the number of minions you can actually have out. I'm not quite sure what the cap is, but there's a few nodes that are readily accessible that will give us an extra 1 minion or zombie and 1 skeleton as well. And the skeleton is something we'll see later on in this video as we go through it. But let's work our way through this area here, showing off these new skills. And already the Witch is looking pretty fun to play here. Now you'll notice down there we just had a gem level up, so again something that's pretty interesting. Your gems, which are your skills, they get, I believe it's 10% of the XP you earn as long as they're socketed, so you can actually level up the gems and make the skills more powerful as well. So with the minions here, you'll actually notice the way they work is we need a body to cast them, and you get the awesome animation as the zombie bursts out the body of the enemy you've defeated, and when you do that it'll give them a full health bar. So you want to be doing that regularly as you're working your way through. With all these fireballs you can now see being cast on me, that would indicate we've got an elite nearby, and we can see our minions made short work of them there, and they're levelled up as well and got some rare gear. So you really want to take those guys down because they have a high chance of dropping some pretty nice loot. So we can see the rare gear there, and we would have to identify it, but I'm not going to use it, so I won't waste a scroll on it. We do have a Quicksilver Flask of Resistance now, that when we use it will help us move a little bit faster, so that can be useful if you're surrounded by lots of ads and you need to get out of there quickly.
Kalm's canoe struck this sand with the force of destiny. At his beck, the greatest war host in Karui history tamed the wild sea. Their canoes.
As we're actually heading through this map, because there is a special mission here, it will branch off, so we're looking for the second exit, and here we go, we've found it. And within this new zone, our task is to find the medicine chest. When you do these optional missions as mentioned, you'll be looking to get additional gems, or you can get skill points, or you can even get the ability to refund some skill points. That's something I should mention, that the huge skill tree, you work your way around it, putting your points in it, you can't do a full respec at all. So for your first few characters, you'll make a lot of mistakes, you'll have to re-roll characters. But saying that, there is actually a site that's set up on a web page where you can gain access to the entire skill tree and you can plot it out. So I'll put a link to that in the description in this video, because if you're someone that doesn't have a lot of time and you don't want to keep re-rolling classes until you get it right, you'll want to plan out your build first. So check out the description for that link.
But it grows, gains in pride and power every day. Kalm has kept his promise. The time of the Karui has come.
So here we go, we can now see the boss here, and here's the guy that will drop the medicine chest. And that's generally the case when you get these extra missions, is it will be an elite that will actually drop the item that you're looking for. And there we go, so that's highlighted in green there, the medicine chest, and just up the top you'll see a splintered tower shield that's got a green border around it. The reason for that is it's got all the 3 different colours linked, and if you sell that you can get some nice rare crafting materials, so keep an eye out for things such as that. For this next section then, we're back on the campaign trail, and there's certain items we need to pick up in order to progress again. They're highlighted in green so they stand out, and we've got an optional mission where we need to find the fetid pool, so let's see if we can find that. So we can see then we've got a nice simple option here within this mission. It's kill all the monsters in the area, so nice and fun anyway.
I think this ray class will serve.
With us gaining another level there and being a caster style class, what I'm going to do is put some of my points into mana regen. This can really help out, otherwise you will be chugging away in those potions and you'll run out pretty quickly. this upcoming boss here has actually got quite interesting effects, and some of them will have this where the minions that he spawns can't actually be defeated and they'll simply respawn unless you defeat him, so it can be quite good. It can make the enemies really pretty tough, because if you don't take out the minions they'll surround the boss, you can't hit the boss because the minions are in the way, and yeah, certainly makes things really interesting. And there we go, that's the mission complete. So we'll keep carrying on with the story here. Once we come across our next waypoint, we'll jump back and we'll see what rewards we're getting from the hub.
Black storms descend on us from the north. Unnatural tempests of rage and hatred, lashing our backs, tearing at our houses. The rain is shot with shadow. It withers our crops.
So we can see on the map there we've got the yellow exclamation mark, so when you're close to an objective it will point it out for you, and this will lead us further on with the story. So we managed to find a waypoint, so we're back at base to turn this in. Various gems we can select. Summon Raging Spirit, this one's pretty awesome, we'll go for that. Lots of flaming skills we can fire out, and then this is for turning in the last mission. You've got the Book of Regret, and that gives you additional actual points to reset some of your skills, so that can be pretty useful. But if you go really far in a tree it's not going to make enough of a difference, and you will have to re-roll if you mess up the options you select. We can see there we've got 2 refund points left now. So we've got our awesome new skill that we socketed in to show off here, which is all the flaming skills, and it goes really great with the minions. You have the minions pull the aggro, and then you stand still and you just fire all these out. They'll last for 5 seconds, you get a 20-second duration on them, so yeah, really pretty great, and they look really nice considering it's quite a low level skill as well. Here we go for our optional mission here. So this here is pretty interesting. You can see there's a boss frozen, and when you tap on him he'll become active. So you want to have all your minions out, make sure you've got your full health and shield. So I'm casting all the skills at the moment. Let's see how quickly we can take him down. There we go, that preparation certainly did work there. We've got a nice special item. You can see it via that highlight, and when these special items do drop and you see a certain glow around something, you know you've got something really nice. We've also got another gem, not necessarily for our class. It's the green gems. This would be for a more agility class, like a duelist or an archer, but with the shared stash we'll hold on to that. Once I decide to play an archer, I can slap that on them and straight away they're going to have an advantage there. And here is the objective for this bonus mission. So we need to take out the Dweller of the Deep, and these guys can be pretty tough because when you beat them they actually respawn as a smaller version as well, so they can take a lot of damage for that reason. Saying that, we're smashing the bosses with this setup we have. And that's done, so that'll be another reward when we do eventually go back to the hub, but we'll continue on with the campaign now. And we have something else new here. So you've got these shrines that will randomly appear and they will have different effects. Now the effects will affect the enemies until you take over them, and then you actually get the buff from them. So let's take over this shrine. We can see we've now got the effect, and it'll last for a short amount of time. Looks pretty awesome though, and it really is quite powerful as well. And we have daylight at last again here. The actual settings of the world when you're in all those caves, it really does feel quite grim and oppressive, but that is the whole idea. That's the style of game it is. Everything's supposed to feel really nasty and dark, and yeah, it really does nail that. There's another gem that's dropped there, so you can see they drop relatively often. This one's Ruthless Support, so again it's green, so it's for an agility style class. We've got a flask upgrade up here, so we'll quickly equip that.
earth of Rayclast rejects the dead. The black spirit of storm and dream now reaches into the ground and raises up our slain imperial foes. It leads the fallen from their graves and drives them to fight us beyond the end, rotted tooth and jagged nail. Our own remembered have joined their cursed ranks. No longer may we give our beloved to the birds, messengers of spirit to the sky, conveyors of flesh to the earth. Calm has commanded us to destroy our remembered with axe and fire. Calm is the bravest of us, willing to bear the ire of the ancestors for the survival of his people.
Got a ton of bad guys here on the boss, so you can see the mob density can really be pretty nice, and the frame rate is staying nice and stable as well. Whole lot going on here actually with my minions and all the ads as well.
Too much clutter.
Now it's been a while since we've looked at the skill tree, so we can see I've put points into extra life, but this particular node here, which we have enough skill points for and we'll go for, is Lord of the Dead, and this will give us the ability to summon another zombie and another skeleton once we get that option as well. One thing you'll notice there, looks like it was lag, and I left this in the game for a reason, is back when I used to play this on PC there was terrible, I believe it was called rubber banding, where the game would just freeze and pull forward. I believe it was due to the actual engine that was used, and it looks like that same rubber banding is there, because when I play other games, no lag at all, but intermittently while I've been playing this I've noticed that happen. It slows down and then it speeds up. It can be a bit of a pain at later levels, because once you go up higher levels and you get defeated, you will lose XP, so you could lose XP through no fault of your own, but it's one of the few negative points of the game, so I'm not going to hold too much against it, because everything else it does very well. Here we go, we got another boss fight coming up here. This guy's really not too difficult at all with the setup we're using. That's him down. And he's dropped a rare ring, so that's pretty nice. Let's identify that. Whole lot of options on that, that really is nice. Let's get that equipped. So we're now back in another dark, gloomy dungeon, and the difference between the beach areas with all the sunlight and these dungeons really is quite stark, and it does add to the oppressive feel when you're in the dungeons. You feel like you're under threat, which is really pretty great. So we've got something else new to show off here with the actual different missions you can get from NPCs that are randomly in the levels. So with this particular mission here, we need to find this spirit. So we work our way through this level and we'll have a nice boss fight at the end. That's us up to level 10 already, so we're really getting through it pretty quick here. Cast all the flaming skills here and let our minions hold ads, and then we'll whittle down the boss. This tactic seems to be working really well. Once again, nice and easy. Nothing really special there loot wise. You can see he's dropped the spirit, and that's what's used for the mission. So we'll pick that up, and then we need to work our way back through the level here, and we'll have lots of different enemies spawning as well. So you'll notice there when we turned that in, he had an XP bar, and as that goes up the levels, I'm pretty certain from what I've read, this wasn't in the game when I played it years ago, but you have hideouts, and once you hit level 3 with one of these NPCs, you can unlock your own hideout. we now have our first real proper tough boss fight here against a relatively large enemy Brutus we're facing off against. You can see the different mechanics he's got with firing out all those spikes in the ground and his AoE smash and the pull as well. And there we go, we've got some adds. That's good for the reason that it'll regen my potions, and also that I actually need to destroy them to summon zombies, because I need a corpse in order to bring the zombies, so that actually helps me out, the fact that he's bringing in his minions.
In my creation, brute, you're not.
So we have another new mechanic here, and the game really does drip feed them to you at a nice rate to keep you interested. This is a chest. When you activate it, you'll have all the different enemies that will spawn there. So again, if you're a summoner, get all your minions out first. These guys here are actually quite tough, because when you're taking them out, they're exploding and leaving the dot on the ground, and this enemies as you go through will have various different affixes like that, so you really need to be wary how you're taking them on. And we have our first unique item, fantastic short bow. Not any good for the witch, but one I'll certainly hold on to when I do inevitably run an archer class. So let's identify this. There we go, that's really pretty fantastic. Ton of different stats it's got on it as well there. Another new map set here then, so we're on a beach and it's got lots of different ghosts and spirits flying around and sunken ships as well. And here we go, we've got a quest as well, so we need to find the All Flame. Let's see if we can manage to find that and then see what we get as a result, as a reward.
Calm is gone. Our king has taken our finest 500 warriors and descended into the depths of Rayclast. He spoke to us of a vision, a gift from the ancestors.
So we've got another shrine up here, an acceleration shrine.
Has been deceived.
There we go. You're really quite speedy when you're moving around with that. I do believe you can get items in the game that can give you movement speed as well, so it'll be especially useful if you're on a glass cannon class. And there we go. Here's the hub we were looking for.
Have led us into nightmare. Hyri will lead us back to the dawn.
Let's see what reward we get here then for turning this in. And there we go. That's not good, we get betrayal, unfortunately.
And that's how you die properly, sailor boy. No half measures, thank you.
Nothing too special there item wise, unfortunately. Let's just carry on with the campaign. We're getting close to the end now, it won't be long and we'll be on the final boss.
Calm is gone. Our king has taken our finest 500 warriors and descended into the depths of Rayclast. He spoke to us of a vision, a gift from the ancestors. Calm.
So we're now on the final map here, so something I'll showcase quickly is the cosmetic tab, and you can see that I've actually got Ultimate Chaos character effect. I've got that slotted onto the belt slot in my character. You can see the red visuals around the character there. It looks pretty great. The whole thing with visuals in the game is it's a free to play game. You cannot buy power in any way the way you could, for example, in a roundabout way in Marvel Heroes with Ultimate tokens, or you most certainly can in Skyforge. You can buy power by bypassing the slow grind. It's just visuals that you have in this, and they can be pretty expensive, but the fact that it's visuals only, and if you want to go fully free to play in this, you can. So I'm really not going to hold the fact against them that the store for cosmetics is a bit on the expensive side, because it's entirely optional, which is great to see. And on the subject of things that are great to see, actually, we've got a new skill. We've got all the fireballs raining down from the sky, so they go perfect with our minions or flaming skulls, and the fireballs coming down as well. We'll summon everyone here before we take on this strong box, and then once we activate it, we'll fire down the fireballs. So as much as we're not high level with the witch, if you choose the right selection of skills, the character can look great and they can be really powerful. And the reason I'm mentioning that is I actually done a playthrough of a Templar with the Mace and Shield. That was the original video I was going to do, going for a Gladiator 4 style playstyle. It was exceptionally slow, and some characters and builds will be like that, so just be warned if you play through the game, you're finding it very slow, you're finding the builds just not clicking, I would say re-roll and try something completely different, because the difference in builds is incredible, it really is.
Myself.
Now coming up on the final boss fight of this video then, and this will be the end of Act 1 once we beat this boss here. Got all their gold that they're storing, so hopefully we can steal that after we defeat them. You can see there was a light glow around their energy bar there. Because it's a special boss, they can have a shield that you need to take down as well, and that will regen if you don't hit them for long enough, so you need to keep at them. And that really was nice and quick and easy there. Having a ton of fun with that build, and it's one I would recommend if you check out the game. Check out that build as well. Go fire, go minions on your witch, and yeah, that's a whole lot of fun. So that is the first impressions of Path of Exile completed. I hope this was helpful for anyone that's on the fence about it. I will say it's quite a punishing game. Whether you're the type of gamer that likes a challenge, you like games like Dark Souls, this is the action RPG of Dark Souls. It will kick your butt at times, but the sense of achievement when you work your way through the levels is really worth it. So, as always, I hope this video was helpful. If there's any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll see you all again soon.